Most people undercharge not because their work isn't valuable, but because they're too emotionally attached to how it's received. Welcome to The Creative Flight. Today's conversation is one I've had so many times, in so many different ways. It's about pricing, but not in a formulaic way, not in a business school kind of way. It's about the tension between your work and your heart. Because when the work is personal, when you've poured your story into it, your soul, your creativity, maybe even your healing and your lived experience, how do you price that? The truth is, when you're emotionally attached to your work, pricing can feel personal. It can feel vulnerable, and it can be a little bit unsteady, even uncomfortable. You might start asking yourself, well, who am I to charge that much? Like, will they think I'm full of myself? What if they say no? What if they say yes? But then expect so much more than what I can give. And this is where the risk comes in. Because if we're not careful, we start to price from emotion, from guilt, from fear, from comparison. And when that happens, we don't just undercharge, we start to undervalue ourselves. We start shrinking our work before it even reaches the person it's meant to be for. So let's pause here. Let's talk about the classic way we're taught to price our offers, because this is where you'll often hear profit first, value second, emotion last, if even emotion gets to be in the picture. So let's break it down. Profit first. Can the business make money from this offer? Would the business pay someone else to do the work you're doing and still make profit? If not, it's not a business. It's a passion project with a price tag. Value second. What is the actual worth to the person receiving it? Not the time you spent on it, not the number of modules or deliverables or however many pages there are in a website, but the result, the shift, the relief, the transformation, the change they get to feel after it's done. Sometimes they'll value your work way more than you do, and sometimes they won't value it at all. And if you don't help them understand the result, well. And the third one is emotions. And we take emotions last because emotions are real. It can inform, it can lead, and it can drive the pricing. This is a classic framework, and it works until it doesn't. Because here's the thing that no one tells you. If your pricing doesn't satisfy your deeper desire, if it doesn't actually feel good for you, if it doesn't match the life you're trying to build, it will go down the bin. You'll resent the offer. You will avoid selling it. You won't be able to sell it comfortably. You'll doubt yourself pretty much every time you try to say it. You'll start overgiving. You'll tweak it. You'll undersell it. You'll overdeliver. And then you'll wonder why you're so tired, so exhausted. So the classic framework is helpful, but it's not complete. It's missing the most important question. Not is it profitable? Not does it offer value? But what do you want? And this is the part that changes everything. Because when you start with what do you want, and you start with what you want, how you want to feel, how you want your business to serve you, what kind of space you want in your week, in your energy, your emotional well-being, it just gets a little bit of a boost. The pricing becomes honest. You're no longer setting a price just to get a yes. You're setting a price that allows you to show up with your full self and not feel depleted when you walk away. Let me give you an example. Two designers, the exact same skill set, the same ability, they're in the same industry. One charges 5 and the other charges 20. Who's right? Both? Neither? Because pricing isn't moral, it's relational. The right price is the one that satisfies both the buyer and the seller. That's it. So here's what I've learned. Most businesses, they know how to be profitable. And they've been taught formulas. They've done the math, But if you don't start with what you want, none of it will hold, because confidence in your pricing doesn't come from numbers, it comes from clarity. And when you're clear, not only can you stand behind the price, you can deliver it without shrinking, without rushing to justify it, without the energetic hangover afterwards. We're not in the business just to make money. Money is a byproduct of doing work that's in alignment. We're in business to enjoy the work, to feel good in it, to grow through it, to honor ourselves in the process. Pricing is part of that. And no, this doesn't mean you can just price anything at any numbers. What it does mean is that your pricing has to satisfy your primary desire, because then when that's met, everything else becomes easier. Selling becomes simpler, boundaries become clearer, delivery becomes lighter. So if you're sitting with a number and you're not sure, pause. Don't just ask, is this profitable? Don't just ask, is this valuable? Ask, does this honor the kind of business I want to run? Does this feel like something I can stand by? Does this serve both of us, me and the client? And if the answer is yes, that's your number. Thanks for flying with me today for this controversial journey of pricing what you want. And if you're navigating pricing and the emotions that come with it, just know you are allowed to build a business that works for you, that feels good to run, that gives more than it takes. Your pricing isn't just about numbers, it's about nourishment. So I'll see you in the next one. Until then, ciao. That's it for today's episode of The Creative Flight. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I invite you to leave a review. It really helps more creators find the show. For more insights and behind the scenes content, you can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can also check out my resources on ivymalik.com. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep creating, keep pushing those boundaries, and keep taking flight.